We start today's video with a letter which I received from a viewer, which is surprising. I never get those. Dear James, I hope this letter finds you well. I do watch your channel. The content is so boring, it helps me get to sleep. However, I recently took a look in my garage, which is full of stuff from the house. I don't keep a car in there. Who would? Oh, I found these old cassettes from when the children were younger, and we had a video recorder. Have I written that bit yet? Oh, I nearly have. Yes, when I found a video recorder. Now, is there a way I can get them onto DVD or something? Yours sincerely, Average Person. Well, thank you, I think. And an interesting question. What can you do with those old VHS and indeed Betamax cassettes? There is one of our options which will actually allow you to back up from video recorders which are not of the VHS format. But we're going to start off with a video recorder which is very much of the VHS format and is actually a combined VHS DVD recorder. So let's get on and start with that. Let's start off around the front. So around the front we have some composite AV inputs. We also have a rather useful S-video input as well, which certainly some camcorders from the 90s made use of. And that's actually a good quality, a fairly good quality input. Standard composite inputs for video and audio. Over on this side we have a USB socket that is for USB sticks containing video files. You cannot, as far as I know, certainly from using this machine over the years, record to USB, although I am happy to be proven wrong on that one. And if we go around the back, we have a number of facilities around the back. Now I will actually test the RF out because I would be interested to know if it does work with RF out, because this will just make this a very, very useful deck for really all sets. We do have a standard composite out, as you can see there. We have two SCART sockets. Now, this SCART socket you tend to use for output to your television set. So that's RGB out, and that's also composite video in and out. So it actually accepts input as well as output. This is RGB in, so this will actually accept an RGB external source. Over here, this is the one that makes this really a viable set deck for modern sets. HDMI output, very, very handy. That's only output though, but that will display everything. VHS, DVD, everything that the machine can do. Have an optical output as well if you want to connect it to an external amplifier or soundbar. And obviously standard AC power in. Now we have a fan on the back. And we have down the sides very useful set of plethora of vents there. So there is good airflow throughout the business side of the machine itself. There is no filter on the fan, so if you are operating this in a dusty environment, it might be worth taking the vacuum cleaner with the brush attachment to the back of this periodically, just to give it a bit of a clean up. But yeah, it is a pretty good, pretty comprehensive deck. So I've tried it over RF, but unfortunately it appears to be SCART only. Let's have a look at some of the functions that we have, certainly on the VHS side. So we've got the ability to do an advanced copy, and the advanced copy allows us to copy to cassette if there was a cassette in there. We can also have a destination of VHS if we wanted. If I do a source of DVD, and if I had a disc in there, I should be able to copy a DVD to a VHS cassette, which could be very useful. And you can also do a quick select on, I thought you could actually. And you can also select VHS to DVD. what it will actually do is it will start taking the VHS cassette and writing it to a rewritable DVD, and it will continue to do so until that cassette has actually finished. Now, I don't believe it will support cassettes with Macrovision, so if you do have a cassette that has Macrovision copy protection, it's unlikely that that will actually work. What else have we got? So TV guide, we do have the ability to set up a Freeview television guide on this, so it will actually work with Freeview. That seems to have gone into 16.9 for some reason. Let's try that again. That's okay, it's just the set being annoying. Let me just sort that out. That's better. So under others, we have the setup option menu. So obviously this gives us tuning options for our DVB tuner. Disc settings, we've got settings for playback. We also have settings for recording as well. So this actually tells you, or rather tells the machine, what it's going to default to when using the DVD recording facility, which is quite handy. Picture, we have a number of options for the picture. Number of options for the sound, including the type of sound output that you'll be using for recording. So that can be Dolby Digital or LPCM. We have options here for the display. Options for the connection. This is one of the reasons why it's probably actually switching me over to 4.16.9, is because it's actually defaulting to that. If I select that, that's actually better for what I need. We also have two options, PAL and NTSC. As I understand it, the VHS deck will also play NTSC tapes as well. We also have HDMI settings that can be set up. The Viera link is if you've got a Panasonic Viera flat screen. That will also set that up as well. So you can communicate using, or rather control this using the remote control for your TV set. We have AV1 output, and we've also got AV2 settings. You can see at the moment that AV1 is outputting as standard RGB. If I set it to video, that is, or would be composite. So I just need to change the AV on this again. There you go, so that's composite. If I switch it to RGB, that's RGB. And I just need to play around with this again. And that gets us back. There you go. So VHS, that actually gives us the option to set the tape length. So we can actually do auto, or we can select one of these other cassette lengths as well. Best to leave that to auto. And under others, we have obviously the remote control, clock, owner ID, standby settings, system update, and an initialize option. Now the system update allows you to download a new TV guide, also do a software update as well. Also do a software update search and a few other bits and pieces. And if I just go back, I'll just go back to setup again. So I'm interested to see if there is any option to output over RF. Unfortunately there isn't. That RF socket does appear to be a pass-through, so it's SCART or HDMI, unfortunately, but not the end of the world if you are using a modulator. So let's give this a go with the cassette that I've got here. So if I just come out, pop the cassette in. There we go, so I've just turned the sound off, but let's have a look at some of the features that we have. We obviously have your standard pause, play, fast forward search, which is 1 speed only. And if you actually press pause, that does actually pause it as well. There we go. And then there is rewind search as well. So really sort of standard things that you would expect on a basic VHS video recorder. I'll just pause that. There is, unfortunately, as far as I can tell, there is unfortunately no slow search option. But again, that is not the end of the world for a lot of users. A lot of users just want a machine that will play cassettes and DVDs, and that is something that this particular unit does very well. We also have the ability to change the input selector on this. So we can have AV3 inputs, we can also do AV1, AV2, AV3, and that basically allows us to change the inputs that we happen to be using for recording to the VHS cassette, or if we switch it to DVD mode, which I'll just do drive select, that flips us into DVD mode. You can also select on there the inputs that you're going to be using as well. So this will actually also record from a range of external inputs, which is quite handy as well. Now on the DVD side, the function menu is very similar to the VHS side. We have obviously recording. We can set a timer record if we wanted for either VHS or DVD. So you can actually set up a number of time shift options if you want to. There's also our copy option. Again, if we had a relevant disc in there, that would allow you to copy from DVD to VHS or VHS to DVD. Again, very, very useful. Now, the interesting thing about copying from VHS to DVD is when you actually start the copy process, you can actually watch the cassette whilst it's copying, but the output, obviously if your set supports it, the output is actually an RGB. So you actually view a VHS cassette which is being processed through the DVD's output circuitry. So you do actually get an RGB output, which is quite interesting actually. It does sort of make the colours pop just that little bit more. If we go back, we have, if it was tuned in, we would actually have a free view guide as well. So this does actually support free view, which is quite handy. There's a direct navigator option, which if there was a disc in there, would actually give us a view of what's on the disc itself. But really, it is, if I'm going to conclude it, it is a really very useful piece of equipment. Downsides, obviously, is it doesn't support RF output. It's only supporting RF pass-through. So that is something that you need to bear in mind when you come to purchase this unit, or you come to purchase a similar unit. Other downsides, I would probably say that some of the menus do take a little bit of getting used to, so it is worth reviewing the manual when you're sort of coming to use the set. Other downside as well, certainly a big downside for me, is it takes ages to boot up. You turn it on, you have to wait at least a minute before you actually get to a point where the unit is usable. That is really just a side effect of the age of the machine and the fact that it is loading in software for well, everything that it needs to do. So it is actually loading in all the software that it needs. and that obviously takes time. Upsides, the range of inputs that you can actually use with this, the fact that it has a Freeview tuner, which is very useful. So if you like doing old-fashioned style time shift recordings, it is an absolute boon for that type of thing. The fact that you can use on the front here USB inputs, so you could put a USB key in there with video files if you so wanted. It does support a range of different file formats as well, which is again quite useful. The other upside or downside, but it's never really bothered me, is the fact that you have no active display on the front of the deck when the deck is in standby, so you don't get like a traditional VHS clock display on there. It is obviously, once it's turned off, it is turned off. So if I just eject the cassette, and then power it down, you'll get the please wait, and then once it goes into standby, that's it. There's no way to tell from the front of it, but it's actually powered off. So that is just something you need to bear in mind. It does say goodbye though, so that's quite nice. So would I recommend one of these? Well, to be honest, because I have one here and I've owned this for a number of years, the immediate answer to that is yes. Yes, I would recommend one. If you can find one, it's definitely a very good machine to have in your arsenal of machines. But if you just want a standard VHS deck, there's another one that I've got down here which we'll be taking a look at. This one is basically covering a machine I've had on the channel before. It is a JVC HRS 5955. It gives us SVHS playback, NTSC playback, it's a hi-fi deck, and obviously power playback as well. Now, according to the label on the front of it, it will also support, if you can see that, you might not be able to see it, so I will just illuminate the issue. There you go. It will also support NTSC playback on a PAL TV. Very, very handy if you don't have a television set that will support NTSC playback. Also very handy if you do have a collection of NTSC cassettes. Now, here it is in pause at the moment. If I just hit play, does everything that you would expect it to do. Obviously it's got on-screen display, fast forward search, which on this particular set seems to blank it out. Obviously play, pause is pretty good. You can skip frame by frame, and it actually does give you a pretty faultless frame by frame pause, which is excellent. Now the unit also has, if we just take a look at the front of it, we have AV inputs to the front. So we've actually got, I'll just illuminate the issue, we've actually got composite in on the front, range of controls on the front for doing the basics, so you don't have to use a remote control to do anything with it. I'll just stop what it's doing on the set at the moment. That's the record button, so I don't want to touch that. If I just stop what it's doing, which is over here, and if I just flip it around, I can show you what we have going on the back. So on the rear of the unit we have two SCART sockets. This one is for external inputs. This one is for outputs, but we'll also deal with external inputs as well. Two phono sockets for audio output, and really that's all that you got on the back. Very simple deck. As I say, it's very simple. You should be able to find these, or certainly models similar to these, on eBay and other sites fairly easily. It's one of the later VHS decks. As we saw from inside of it, there isn't really much going on inside. It is a very simple setup. Nothing really exciting. but it just works. And to be honest with you, that's what some people want. They just want something that just works, that will just do the job. Rewind speed, obviously we do have the on-screen display telling us what's going on. There is an actual time counter as well, so that's quite handy. We also have the amount remaining, which is also quite good, and that's quite a nice feature which not a lot of decks have. Also, not a lot of older decks, that is. And I think that's actually finished it, so if I just eject that. There we go. Yeah, as I say, a very nice, simple deck. To be honest with you, I can't really sort of find any downsides on this particular deck. It does exactly what it should. I suppose the only downside is it has an analog tuner. It doesn't have Freeview tuner. That isn't something that should cause us too much of a concern, especially if you're just going to be using this for VHS playback. The on-board menu is quite handy. We have auto channel set, which takes us into obviously setting up channels automatically, which really, that's all you can say about that. That's doing everything that it should there. We have manual channel set. We also have mode set as well, which takes us into settings for the machine itself. So this will tell us that we have an on-screen display, auto SPLP timer. We also have a power save mode as well, video stabilizer mode, which could be useful. We also got SVHS on, auto power off, set to off. So there are actually some rather useful power save mode facilities on this as well, which if you're worried about that sort of thing, is actually quite good. You can actually use this, set it up and leave it on a power supply. Leave it powered up, and actually have it turn itself off automatically, save power, do all of that sort of good stuff. So yeah, very versatile little unit, that. And really, I've got to be honest, what else does it have? Let's pop in the cassette and see what it will actually do as well. There are some nice little features with the deck itself. So if you just pop in that cassette, obviously autoplay on a cassette that's not write protected is standard. There is a fast forward 30-second option, so if I hit that, that's actually fast forwarded through 30 seconds of the cassette. Nope, there is an instant program option there, so you can actually instantly set a program. There is a review button, so that actually takes us, that actually rewinds. And my guess is that would actually rewind to the beginning of a particular program. So it's going to be using some kind of index function. In fact, what it's actually done there, it looks like it's actually reversed or gone back to where the clock was set to 0. So this is actually where the clock was actually zeroed, and it's taken us back to the beginning of that particular point. So that's quite good, quite a useful function. And yeah, I've got to be honest, that really is all there is to sort of say about this machine. It's not really anything that exciting, it just works. And for a lot of people, as I said, that's all they want. So the model again, if you want to hunt for one yourself, is the JVC HRS 5955. You may be able to find models which are better than this, but this one is a pretty damn good all-rounder. Cast your mind back to around the early 2000s. We're talking 2002 to 2003. Now, there was this sort of in-between period between VHS decks and other decks of the magnetic cassette type, which would record and allow you to do time shift recordings of terrestrial television shows. And the time that we had Freeview, and obviously Freeview boxes which could also record, and also Sky and Virgin Media offerings, or NTL and Telewest as it once was, where you had a box which would actually allow you to download, playback, pause, and all of that sort of good stuff. There was that in-between period where we had devices like this. This is a Daewoo DH6100P. It is a DVD recorder with an 80GB hard disk drive inside of it, which you would use for recording standard television programs. My understanding is it actually has a terrestrial tuner inside of it, so it will only record from standard terrestrial inputs. We do have a range of inputs and outputs on the device. We have full component capability. We have audio out. We've also got coaxial and optical. We have obviously SCART as well, and we got an aerial input as well for that side of things. So, first thing I am going to do is to actually power this up and see if it still works. I haven't turned this on for years, so it'll be interesting to see if it explodes or if it powers up. Well, it's come up with a clock display on the front, and if I turn it on, there's a little fan on the back which is spinning. Hard drive is making some noises. It has the, as a lot of these things did back then, the friendly hi on the front of it, which tells us that it is actually powering up. And once that has powered up, you'll actually have, oh yeah, there it is, has access to open up the DVD tray, do everything else that you want to do. So, that does still seem to work, and I think I've actually got the remote control for it as well. So let's have a look in my box of many remote controls. That one is for a Sony C7 Betamax. This one is for a JVC HR 76, 50 and 55, and all of the clones, this one being a Ferguson one. Same remote control for all of them. That's for some kind of Philips Freeview box, which I no longer have. Again, that's another weird Freeview box. These two are Fawn remote controls for some ex-rental VHS machines. They're actually rebadged Sanyos in this case. That is for a U-View box, and this is the one that I'm after. This is our Daewoo remote control. So let's get some batteries in that. Let's get the television hooked up, and let's run through some of the features that this deck actually has. I'm not sure how much use it would actually be in sort of today's society, so to speak, or with today's setup, but I would be interested to find out. So I'll get the TV hooked up and you'll rejoin me shortly. So here we go, we've got the set turned on, we've got the DVD player hooked up, and as you can see, very standard sort of setup with the DVD. I'll just change the input a second to see if we can get rid of, there we go, that's better. So let's have a look at what the DVD can actually do. So if we have a look at setup, now tuner wise, what do we have tuner wise? We have what looks like a very standard, bog standard UHF tuner. Unfortunately with this particular deck there is no options for Freeview. So that could be arguably a limitation of this particular deck, especially in today's society. But when this deck came out, it was perfect. You didn't really sort of need a Freeview tuner. If you wanted to record Freeview, you would obviously do so using one of the external inputs. Now, what else have we got? We also have, if we go out of setup and into menu, we have a media browser. So we got HDD media, so that's our hard drive media, so there's going to be something on there. You could have pictures, you could have music. This will also store music as well on that DVD drive, which could be quite useful. It could make a very rudimentary media player. What else do we have? If we go back out, we also have, when I can remember how to go back, there should be a back button. There you go. We also have some video titles in there as well. So this was recorded, blimey, 2004. Only 1 second in length though. This one was recorded also in 2004. And that's a little bit longer. So that's actually stored on the drive itself. So that's on the hard drive. And there doesn't appear to be anything on there. So if we skip through, there is actually nothing on there. It's just recorded a lot of white noise. But as you can see, it does allow you to skip through in various playback modes. If there was something on there, you would actually be able to see something. You would be able to obviously pause if you wanted to, so that will pause the output. And yeah, that really sort of is all that there is to sort of write home about that one. The good thing though is it is actually still working. The hard drive does seem to still be working correctly. Now, you can actually have these recorded in various different quality settings, so you could actually set it up to record in super long play quality if you wanted, so that is actually quite handy. You can see there DVD record quality extended play, HDD record quality is super long play, but you could set that to high quality if you wanted, or standard play. And this you could also set to high quality, standard play, extended play, or super long play. So there's really sort of quite a few things you can actually do with the settings from that sort of perspective. What other options have you got? So you've got language options. You've also got some preferences here. So video preferences there. That's obviously for the output that we've got at the moment, which is 4:3. Video output's RGB. That can be changed to interlace, progressive, and RGB. Also got what else have we got? Sorry, we've also got. I'll just go back up to there. Information, which just gives us information about the firmware, and we've also got restore defaults as well. So it really is, for the time, a deck which will do time shift recordings for terrestrial recordings or terrestrial channels, or if you've got an external Freeview option connected, you could actually use the actually record off one of the inputs as well. So you could actually record a Freeview, but not in the sort of same sort of way that you could with the Panasonic deck that we've looked at. So let's come out of the menu option and let's be perfectly honest about this. Is this any use for today? Well, yes and no. Yes, because it has a DVD drive, so you could use this as a DVD player. No, from the perspective of viewing television channels on it, because there is no Freeview tuner. It is basically just a standard UHF tuner. So there's nothing really sort of that special about it in that respect. But it does have on the front a range of inputs. So you could actually hook it up You could actually hook up external devices to it, so you could use it for archiving purposes. If you don't have a combined VHS DVD deck, this will actually be very good for recording and archiving VHS cassettes or Betamax cassettes or Video 2000 cassettes, because it is a DVD writer. So it does have, or certainly still has, some mileage from that respect. You can also record them straight onto the hard drive as well if you wanted. I think there is actually a way you can actually record from the hard drive onto a DVD as well, but I'm not 100% certain about that, so don't quote me. So would I recommend buying one if you could find one? If you've got a VHS deck and you don't want to go to the expenditure of purchasing a VHS DVD combo like the Panasonic that I've reviewed, something like this is absolutely perfect. You've already got the VHS deck, this can just sit underneath it, connect it with a SCART cable, you've got something that you can use to archive your video cassettes onto DVD. You can obviously take that DVD and archive them even further into the cloud, onto hard drive storage, whatever you want to do. And there we go. If I hit power off, as you can see, that just turns itself off. And actually one advantage is it does actually have a clock display on the front whilst it's turned off as well, so you can use it to well, tell the time if you really wanted. And that's that. Anyway, if you found this interesting, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you again very soon. Thanks for watching, take care, and see you soon.